Good morning and welcome back to another day in Mr. Britt's AP US government class. I hope that y'all are having a good day. If not, let's try to make it a little bit better. And welcome back anyway. So, unfortunately, as y'all have noticed, I'm not in today because I'm sick. But I know that y'all have y'all's test tomorrow, and I want to help you guys out with the review. So here we are, so I can try to help y'all out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. It's a little hard for me to talk, so let's just get to it. All right, so the first one, what enumerated powers are given to the House of Representatives and the Senate? So, enumerated powers mean that it is clearly stated in the Constitution. So, this is not implied powers. Enumerated means the Constitution says it outright. So, examples for the House of Representatives. In the House of Representatives, all revenue bills, meaning taxes, all revenue bills have to come from the House of Representatives. That's how it works there. Another one is that the House of Representatives, starts the articles of impeachment, that the research and charges are made in the House of Representatives. And then, once they have a majority vote, it goes to the Senate where it is placed on trial. Whomever that officer is. It can be the president, it can be any federal official. That's what the Constitution says. But it starts in the House, ends in the Senate. So we're getting to the ones that y'all really need to know. And so let's go for the Senate. What's an enumerated power for the Senate? They are the sole authority that can confirm treaties. So these are deals that we have made with other countries. Excuse me, jeez. That means that the Senate has way more power in foreign affairs compared to the House of Representatives. The Senate also has appointment power, meaning the confirmation, I should say, rather. They have confirmation power. They confirm all of the president's appointments, whether that's Supreme Court, the federal courts, the various agencies of the executive branch, our ambassadors, all of them have to go before the Senate and they have to be voted on. And then another one to put down is that the Senate convicts in impeachment. They're the ones who decides someone is innocent or guilty. So make sure that y'all look those up, put that in there. Now, we didn't really get to talk about Baker v. Carr. I was planning on doing that today. Seeing how I'm sick, that's not going to happen. So, Baker v. Carr, this is the case. That Baker was a representative for a district that he believed, based on population, was not getting proper representation in the House of Representatives. He represented a minority majority district, meaning that it was mostly black people. And so he believed that the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment was not being applied. That the representation based on population was not being fairly applied to his constituents. He goes to Supreme Court and the Supreme Court strikes him down, meaning that meaning that he loses. And so he was denied equal protection under the law. They said the states get to decide this, not us. Now, later on, this would be overturned by a different case to where the Supreme Court will check and make sure that districts are properly represented. All right, next one. Sorry. Who places people in committees, and what qualifications do they usually look for in people? So, usually the person who places people in committees is the majority party. So remember, the majority party selects the Speaker of the House, and they select the majority leader of their parties. So the reality is that the party decides all of this. The Speaker of the House, let's go for the House for instance, they get to choose who they put onto committees. And they're usually looking for qualifications such as seniority. That's probably one of the biggest ones, is how long someone has been in Congress. That do they know how to work the system? And so they look for number one, seniority, and then number two, expertise. Do they have knowledge about what the committee is about? And we got to talk about this for a little bit. Sorry, we're going to keep talking about it today, but that didn't happen. That there's committees for all sorts of different things, and there's different kinds of committees. All right, next one, which we did get to talk about. All right, what are the rules on the time of debates in the House of Representatives and the Senate? So remember, there is a time limit in the House of Representatives. They cannot droll on forever. That they have a set time limit that they have to abide by. Meanwhile, in the Senate, they have what's called the filibuster. And the filibuster allows for unlimited debate time, which means that you can stand up there and talk about just about anything. We saw that video of Ted Cruz drolling on for over 12 hours where he read Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham, talked about Duck Dynasty, among other things, of like not wearing his filibustering boots, etc. That's the main difference between the rules of debate there. All right. How does Congress overrule a veto? So we didn't get into the president's powers quite yet, but one thing that the president can do is that if he does not like a bill going to his desk, he can do what's called a veto, which is basically just saying, no, this is not becoming law. This is a check from the president to make sure that Congress doesn't try to pass crazy things. Now, let's say that the Congress really, really likes this bill. They really want to go through. Well, what they can do is override that veto. In order for that to happen, they have to have 2/3 of both the House of Representatives and the Senate to be able to overturn the president. Excuse me. Now, let's say the president vetoes a bill. One way that the veto stands is that either Congress is too lazy to do that, or two, the president has the majority party. Usually his party is not going to come out against him. If the president is a Republican and the Congress is Republican, more than likely the Republican Congress is not going to overturn his veto. Same thing with the Democrats. They don't want to appear to be against the president. So if the party members of both the Senate and the House of Representatives are from the same party, more than likely the president's veto will stand. All right, how can Congress stimulate the economy? They can do this by passing federal budgets. They spend money. And that has been a big tool of Congress is spending money, a lot of money. If you look at the federal budget for the last, let's say, from 2020, I'll go even to 2019 at the start of the pandemic. If you go back 5 years, you'll see federal spending explode. And the reason why is because Congress was trying to keep the economy afloat by just spending a lot of money. But when you guys take me for AP Macro next semester, you'll realize that when Congress spends more money, there's more money in the economy, and therefore money's buying power goes down. That is what causes inflation. And we're dealing with that right now. All right. When a Senate bill and House of Representative bill have differences, how do they resolve them? I'm just going to get straight to the point. They make a conference committee. They come together in a conference committee to be able to review things and come to an agreement or compromise on stuff. You know, the House might give up something or the Senate might give up something. But eventually, with the conference committee, if they both really want something done, they'll agree and disagree on certain things, but then eventually come out with a compromise. All right. Where do the majority of bills die in Congress? It's the committees. They all die in subcommittees. That most of the work of legislation in Congress is done in a subcommittee. This is where bills go to die. That if they don't make it out of the subcommittee, they're never voted on. And Congress takes in a little bit over 11,000 bills every year. Majority of the 11,000 bills go to subcommittees and never leave. And therefore, they're never voted on. So most work of Congress is done in subcommittees. All right. What informal power does the president have to veto a bill that Congress cannot stop? Okay, so this is an informal power. What this is that it's called a pocket veto. And what this means is that, according to the Constitution, if Congress is in recess, meaning that Congress adjourns, it's done. They're not doing any more work. If a bill goes to the president's desk, it has 10 days to be signed. So that means the president can either sign it or after 10 days it becomes law. But here's the catch. If Congress adjourns with less than 10 days left on the congressional calendar, meaning less than 10 days of them to work, and they adjourn, the president doesn't have to take any action. He cannot sign it. He doesn't even have to do a veto. He can just let it sit on his desk and it automatically dies. It expires within that 10 days. And we call this a pocket veto. All right, which committee in the House of Representatives sets the conditions for debate and amendment procedures of bills? This will be the House Rules Committee. We did get to talk about them for a little while, that they are the ones who set these conditions. It's a very powerful committee. You want to be on this committee. You desire to be on this committee. Why? Because it's an all-powerful committee. They're the ones who set the rules. They're the ones who sets the parameters. They're the ones who gets to decide if a bill gets to be amended or not. So you really, really want to be on the House Rules Committee. That's the one we're talking about there. Excuse me. right, so what is pork barrel spending, and how do members of Congress use it to their advantage? So we talked about this when we talked about incumbents. That pork barrel spending is just excessive spending done by Congress to fund special projects. It's usually funding for local projects that are intended to benefit those voters. And so members of Congress like pork barrel spending because it allows them to go back to their hometowns, their districts, and brag about all the money that they brought into their district, even though majority of the time it's very harmful to the rest of the country, because once you add up how much money we spend on nonsense projects, it becomes very daunting in terms of our federal debt. All right, what are standing committees? So these are committees that do not change from year on end. They are permanent subject matter committees. That's what they are. Permanent subject matter committees. They are committees that do not change, and they have the same job every year. All right. Other than voters, what influences members of Congress to vote a certain way on bills? So we talked about these guys. There's a couple things that can affect this. Number one, outside of voters, is their party affiliation. That they're going to vote in line with what their party wants. And we talked about this tool that both parties, the Republican and the Democrats, and both chambers of Congress, so both the House of Representatives and the Senate, use these guys, and they're called whips. That they go around to get the votes. They go around to get people in line. And so both chambers use this system of whips to get people in line. Okay, let me double check here to see if there's anything else I can think of that y'all need to know. That should have covered what you need to know for this test. Okay, I hope that y'all take the time out to use this video. It definitely is going to help you for this test. Please complete y'all's reviews, and I will see y'all soon.